Hello and welcome to News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Esther Vese. We begin tonight with a tragedy that has struck 4 communities in Nigeria, northeastern Borno State. The National Emergency Management Agency has now confirmed 8 persons died from 2 separate attacks. The Emergency Response Agency says 6 people were killed in an attack by the terrorists at Kofa Villa in the outskirts of Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. The Northeast Zonal Coordinator of the National Emergency Management Agency, Bashir Garga, also says 2 others were killed when the terrorists attacked an internally displaced persons camp in Dalori. He says the insurgents attacked that IDP camp after the villagers had fled there for safety. Gaga also says several houses were burnt in the inferno, but noted that the Borno State Fire Service have contained the inferno and villagers who fled for safety have returned home. In Abuja, the Islamic Movement in Nigeria is accusing the Nigerian Army of genocide. The group says more than 20 of its members were killed in 2 clashes in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The military has blamed the sect for the clashes, which it also says only 6 people were killed, but the IMN says it has buried a much higher figure.
On Saturday, members of the Islamic Movement in Nigeria started trooping out en masse into Abuja to mark the 40-year Al-Bahin Islamic calendar. The group had issued a release that their members would be trekking into the Federal Capital Territory from neighboring states of Nasarawa, Niger, and Kaduna. The first encounter was with soldiers in Zuba area of Abuja, where the army says only 3 people were killed. The march into Abuja city center continued on Sunday, and the group again clashed with the army and police on Monday and Tuesday. At the end of both clashes, the army blamed the Shiites for both incidents, accusing them of initiating attacks on soldiers. The army's official reports also showed only 6 people were killed in the clashes, with several soldiers injured. But the group insists that that is not the case. They say 36 people were killed in unprovoked attacks by soldiers.
These people, they close their eyes, they send the guard brigade, they meet us, brothers and sisters of the Islamic movement, marching peacefully, and they meet us at checking point. They open fire on us, even using ammo tank on us. They kill 36 people at that point. They went with 12 bodies, and they left 24 bodies with us. And the 4 has been given burial in Kefi, Nasarawa State, and here we have 21 to be given burial now.
As you can see, even if I didn't speak, people have seen and the world have seen that what the Nigerian Army have done to us since on Saturday in Zuba and on Sunday in Maraba and yesterday still in around Human Rights Commission. They often fire on with non-citizens. We are unarmed, but they often fire with us. They even use heavily arms. The heavily arms they use like, what do you call it? This AK and grenades. Protesting. We are just protesting for the martyrdom of the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the son of Fatima Zahra, the daughter of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. We are sympathizing and we are trekking to remember the suffering that the household of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam have gone through. But these people, they often fire with us with no reason. Up to now, we don't know the reason that the Nigerian Army has often fired on us.
The army is yet to react to the latest accusation. The police, meanwhile, have arrested 400 members of the group for disturbing public peace, with some of them to be charged with terrorism. The Inspector General of Police also says the police will be working with religious leaders to control the security threats posed by the group. Onyi Adekunle, TV360, Nigeria.
Still on the Shiite police clash, human rights group Amnesty International has also been accusing Nigerian security officials of using excessive force to deal with the protesters. Amnesty International says it has evidence that the military used automatic firearms to injure at least 122 protesters, but another civil rights group in Nigeria believes that claim is false. A coalition of non-governmental organizations, community-based organizations, and faith-based organizations have condemned the action of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria. The group says Amnesty International did not consider safety and sanctity of the life of the vast majority of Nigerians by condemning the security agencies for their actions against the IMN members.
Amnesty International, we have known that Amnesty seemed to have a very veiled motive. When it was Boko Haram then attacking Nigeria from left, right, and center, they said, oh, why will the Nigerian Army go after the Boko Haram and the rest of them? They wanted Boko Haram to eliminate all of us before they will now say, oh, we are upholding civil rights. Today it is the IMN, the Islamic Movement of Nigeria. They came, crumbling activities, damaging people's cars. The next thing, they will jump into people's houses, start raping women, start slaughtering people. We are talking of 1 million people marching randomly without any control, and then Amnesty will wake up and start telling you, no, they should go to their countries and do this amnesty, and then they should allow people to go about lawlessly, destroying things in their country. We know the origins of Amnesty International, and from their activities and antecedents, we can now boldly say that they have veiled and ulterior motives, and we warn Amnesty International to please retrace their steps. They should not interfere with the sovereignty of Nigeria. They should not interfere with the peace and security of Nigeria. They should not act as forces that have been subtly let out to cripple and crumble the nation Nigeria. We will not allow that from anybody or any entity. We will not sit by and watch individuals come and threaten the peace of our nation, threaten the sovereignty of our nation, threaten the security of our nation. No! The relevant security agencies should wake up. Everybody has a right to protest and a right to everything, but not when you have come out to cripple commercial activities, not when you have come to damage the properties of citizens, to close down businesses. You have your rights as well as every other individual has his rights. So as you go about doing whatever you are doing, you must respect the rights of others. And if these rights are not being respected, then it behoves on the security agencies to take the relevant measures forthwith and immediately. And if they do not rise up to their responsibilities, we, as citizens of Nigeria, as civil society organizations, will be left with no other options but to rise up in protest to demand from them that they do the needful to uphold the sovereignty, peace, and security of our dear nation, Nigeria.
With a November 6th deadline for an industrial strike action drawing nearer, the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Ayuba Waba, is insisting Labour will not reduce its 30,000 naira minimum wage fee already agreed with government officials. Waba has also threatened that Labour will revert back to its original 66,500 naira demand if government refuses the agreement. The NLC president also says Labour leaders will be meeting on Friday in Lagos to consult more on the matter.
We are not insisting on 30,000. 30,000 was a compromise position. The demand of organized labor is 66,500. I told you how we arrived at the 30,000, which was a compromise position. And you even had the position of federal government yesterday. They rejected also the 22,500 offered by government. Minimum wage is not offered. It's not an award. It's not an allocation. It's negotiated. That is the principle between the tripartite, that is organized labor, employers of labor, and then government. And that process took us 1 year to actually arrive at 30,000. So 30,000 is not the demand of labor. It's actually a compromise position that was put on the table at the end of the tripartite negotiating process, which ended on the 5th of October. So to assume that is a demand of labor, I think we are not missing the point. It's a compromise position which labor is ready to accept. But anything outside that, everybody should also go back to its initial demand. Workers are not slaves. The minimum wage is due by 2016. Workers and unions saw a lot of reason. We have been patient. We have followed up the process of dialogue, which took more than a year. In fact, it's a year today. From October 2017 to, from November 2017 to November today is almost 1 year. And therefore, we have followed the process very patiently and also following the dictates of collective bargaining process. We have ended the process on the 5th of October. And therefore, for anybody coming to say that, well, it should be delayed, certainly workers will not be in any position to continue to delay this process. Organized labor is meeting tomorrow in Lagos. All the 40 affiliates unions of all our centers, 60 affiliate unions of all our centers, the president and general secretaries of all the unions from all the sectors and all the centers will be meeting tomorrow by 10 o'clock in Lagos to actually pronounce a final decision. Our hope is that the needful should be done.
As the bribery scandal involving Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje lingers, the 7-man panel probing the allegations has summoned him to appear before them on Friday. Ganduje is to appear in person to provide the committee with his perspective on the allegations. The governor has also been advised to come with his lawyer and a written, signed and dated statement of his defense. Ganduje has been seen on video taking bribes from an unnamed contractor, and Daily Nigeria had published a video clip which went viral, allegedly showing the governor receiving a bribe. Although the governor denied the allegation, the Assembly on October 15 set up a 7-man investigative committee to probe the claim. In a related development, an ad hoc committee of the House of Representatives has begun an investigative hearing into the raging crisis at the National Health Insurance Scheme, NHIS. The crisis was triggered by the refusal of the Executive Secretary of the NHIS, Usman Yusuf, to obey a suspension order. Yusuf was suspended by the governing body of the agency for allegation of corruption, but refused to adhere to the order, arguing that only the president has the right to do so. He has now been placed on administrative leave by the president to allow a probe into the allegations against him. A director in the office of the head of the civil service of the Federation, Ben Omogo, has been deployed to oversee the affairs of the scheme in Yusuf's absence. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, has dismissed rumors of a crisis within the party. The chairman has been rumored to have lost the support of many party governors, but after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, Oshiomhole told newsmen he still has a cordial relationship with party's governors. He insists he will only stand by the rule of law and will not change decisions to please just one party member.
And even when I was working in the textile industry, I put my little job on the line in order to fight for justice for fellow workers. And I can see one here who used to be in the textile industry who has moved on to become a State House correspondent, and I congratulate you for this elevation. So for me, I have had no difficulty in life if there is conflict between my personal friendship and what I believe is right and just. Effortlessly, I resolve it in favor of what is right and just. These are eternal family issues. And I'm happy with one word you have just used, that these are my friends. These are my friends, and that is important. So even in a moment of distress, that friendship, I want to believe, is enough to help us build a reconciliation. There is no running away from the fact that not only as a governing party who has a higher stake, we are the one in the news. I mean, if we were in the stock market, our shares have improved considerably. So it is not surprising that there is some disquiet. But I remain a friend to these governors. I respect them. I appreciate them. I even appreciate them for the fact that, but for their support, I will not be chairman. And you do not go stepping on toes of those who supported you to get to a position. But however, I thought I was clear, and I remain clear, that in helping me to get to the position, it was to help APC to return to its core values of progressive politics, of fairness, of justice, of adherence to rule of law, and obedience, total submission to the extant provisions of our party constitution. And in doing that, you don't look at power, you look at what is right, what is just. I think that with time, we will reconcile all this. Amosu remains my very good friend. We have known each other for a long, long time. We've exchanged personal visits in addition to official visit. Zafara Governor has been the chairman of the Governors Forum, and I was the acting member of that forum. We've had wonderful times together, and I believe in the future we will still go to have wonderful times together. Governor Richards, he was, as I'm sure some of you you know, he was one of those who had issues with my predecessor, and I did my best to try and resolve those issues in a way that has given him a renewed platform. And I'm happy that God used us to do that, not by cheating in his favor, but by just doing what is right.
Oshiomhole has now received the backing of a chieftain of the party, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Tinubu also insists the party's constitution must be respected and not ignored to satisfy selfish interests.
We all have to respect the party's supremacy. You are all here where we had the Congress. We elected new executive. The convention, we had it. We had NEC before then. And we surrender to avoid conflict, to avoid domination, to avoid abuses of power. We surrender our right. All right, to the National Working Committee, headed by Adam Oshiomhole, that the National Working Committee will set up electoral bodies to supervise various state congresses and elections. We signed off on it. So, if it is not in an individual favor, so be it.
Well, news now continues right after this break, so don't go away.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
Wait. Do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
All right, now we have Fidelia Guncha joining us for the latest updates in business. Hello, Fidelia.
Hi, Esther.
So I hear the Central Bank of Nigeria has released the latest figures of the foreign reserves.
Well, yes, Nigeria's foreign reserves declined by $2.2 billion in October 2018, and that's the largest monthly drop since 2015. And the country's foreign reserves, which saw a remarkable surge in 2018 following improved oil prices and hitting $47.8 billion in June, has begun to take a downward trend due to shocks from the U.S. market. Now, on October 26, 2018, the U.S. Federal Reserve decided to lift its benchmark overnight lending rate by 0.25 percentage point to a range of 2% to 2.25%. And this has made the biggest economy in the world more attractive to investors who have since started moving their monies out of emerging markets like Nigeria, causing potential currency fluctuation and depreciation. Now, to avoid depreciation of the naira, the CBN has decided to continuously intervene in the foreign exchange markets to keep the naira stable at 360 to 364 against the greenback. Well, Nigeria has approved a national leather and leather product policy to harness the country's leather resources. The Minister of Science and Technology, Ogbonnaya Onu, says the new policy will place less emphasis on consumption of leather, but focus on hide and skin products for export as raw material or finished product. Onu also says the policy will improve the country's leather industry and create employment.
Council approved the leather and leather products policy for our dear nation. By this policy, we will now harness our leather resources in a manner that instead of exporting raw leather or semi-finished leather, we will now be in the position we want to prepare our nation so that we'll be in the position to finish our leather in terms of processing it into finished leather, and then use that leather in the production of finished leather products.
Oil prices fell on Thursday, extending losses in previous sessions amid signs of rising supply and growing concerns that demand might weaken on the prospect of a global economic slowdown. Brent crude lost 46 cents to trade at $74.58 per barrel, while U.S. crude fell by 41 cents to trade at $64.90 a barrel. Now, both benchmarks posted their worst monthly performance since July 2016 on Wednesday, with Brent falling 8.8% for October and U.S. crude dropping by 10.9%. Thursday's drop came after U.S. Energy Information Administration data showed crude oil inventories climbed for a sixth straight week. Well, up next is a review of the stock market for today. Stay tuned. The sustained sell-off by investors saw the Nigerian Stock Exchange depreciate further by over 169 billion naira, losing over 460 points. Now, this is the market's third day in the red after it declined by 0.08% on Tuesday and 2.12% on Wednesday. But it wasn't a bad day for everyone, as some equities still profited from today's trade. Now, leading the pack of 11 gainers is Presco right here, gaining by more than 3 naira. It is followed closely by Wapco, Flour Mill, and Fitson, which are appreciated by 35 kobo, 25 kobo, and 2 kobo, respectively. Well, on the other hand, the list of 24 laggards is topped by Nestle, which lost the most, declining by 20 naira. It is followed closely by Dangote Cement, which was one of the biggest losers yesterday. Now, in the banking sector, moving on to the top traders chart, the banking sector remains the delight for traders today. As you can see, it is taking 3 spots on our top traders chart, and Transcorp is making its first entry on the chart. Well, in summary, over 300 million shares were traded in more than 3,000 deals. And moving on to the global stock market right here, the American stock market maintained its uptrend, appreciating by 0.84% and gaining more than 200 points, while the Nikkei and FTSE, however, declined, dropping by 1.06 and 0.20%, respectively. Well, that's been a look at activities on the stock market, and it's back to Esther Vasey.
Hopefully, the intervention of CBN in the forex market will help alleviate dollar shortages. As we know, the CBN continuously intervenes with about $210 million to help alleviate dollar shortages. And it's a sad one for Dangote Cement. They've been in the reds throughout this week. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow, ending the week's trading, they would probably move on to the positive territory. Well, thank you very much for that update, Fidelia. And we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll bring you more news stories. So do stay with us.
Corruption not in my country. How work?
Oh, correct, Oga.
What is it that you are doing?
Oga, they command the part now. Make we go sell for.
Oga, na correct kuza be this so. Oga Titus and him boys them. They do am. They will command the original parts, sell them, make plenty kuza. No wonder our customers bring the generator back to our workshop because they bad. And not because of stuff. Now because they overuse the generator. Plus say NEPA no they give them electricity. Before I open my eye, Makachuku look at my talk in the heaven. Replace this original generator parts back inside this generator of my customer. In short, before una do am, frog jump. One. Frog jump. 1, 2, 1. Stealing of generator parts or changing of original parts to a fake one. That is the corruption. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
You're welcome back. Maaza Ashnafi has been sworn in as Ethiopia's first female Supreme Court president. Her nomination was approved by the parliament unanimously. Maaza served as an advisor on women's rights at the Addis Ababa-based United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. Now, the confirmation by parliament comes 2 weeks after reformist Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed named 10 female ministers, making Ethiopia the third country in Africa after Rwanda and Seychelles to have its cabinet split equally between men and women. Last week, Ethiopia named Sal al-Work Zaude as president, also the first woman to hold that post. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's ready to deploy up to 15,000 troops in order to repel a large group of immigrants moving through Mexico towards the United States, as he hardens his stance against migrants fleeing violence and poverty in Central America. The Trump administration has already started to send 5,200 active duty troops to the border and has identified another 2,000 that could be deployed if needed. The U.S. National Guard, a reserve military force, currently has 2,100 soldiers on duty at the border, and they are authorized to go up to as much as 4,000. Video assistant referees VAR will be used in the CAF Champions League final for the first time on Friday when Al Ahly of Egypt host Esperance of Tunisia in the first leg. The system allows off-field referees to assist match officials regarding goals, penalty and straight red card decisions and mistaken identity when awarding red and yellow cards. VAR has been used once before in Africa for the 2018 CAF Super Cup match between Wydad Casablanca of Morocco and TP Mazembe of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Well, the Spanish League is launching a campaign hoping to show that American fans are behind its plan to host a regular season soccer game in the United States. The league and its U.S. partners on Thursday began asking fans to sign an online petition to show their support for the planned Barcelona-Girona game near Miami in January. The league's idea to play games in the U.S. to promote its brand has been met by criticism from soccer officials and some fans and clubs in Spain. The dispute has become a tug-of-war among the several stakeholders, with all sides trying to weigh in and defend their ground. The FIFA Council recently opposed the plan after receiving a request to take a stance from the Confederation of North Central African and Caribbean Association Football, CONCACAF, and the Federation in the United States and in Spain. And that wraps it up. Thank you for joining us on the Evening Bulletin. You can get the latest updates and watch more of our programs on our website at www.tv360nigeria.com. But don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms. Our handles are displayed on your screen right now. Thank you once again. I am Esther Vese. Good night.